Last week, I talked about one way to learn how to improvise when your players do the unexpected is to have some generic NPCs ready that you haven't assigned to a specific location or job or task in your adventure setup. Another similar exercise you can do away from the table is to create some less generic NPCs who are connected to potential side quests. These are characters who are adjacent to parts of your adventure, but not necessarily part of your main plot, which is what I want to talk about today. Welcome to Indeterminate Infinities, where we discuss multifarious aspects of the art of game mastering. My name is Gene. I'm a professional writer and information architect who spent part of my university career majoring in music education, and I've been DMing for 49 years. I used the analogy last time of how when you're learning a musical instrument, you spend a lot of time practicing scales, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and that prepping as a potential random NPC is a similar activity when trying to learn how to improvise as a GM. If prepping and practicing talking in character for a generic NPC is like practicing musical scales, then prepping NPCs with potential side quests is more like practicing more complicated scales, such as pentatonic or chromatic scales. Don't get me started going down a rabbit hole on music, sorry. The point is that prepping NPCs and potential side quests that you don't know precisely when you will use them makes it easier for you to wing it when players do something or go somewhere you didn't plan for them to at all. Before I go further, I want to mention again the importance of taking notes. Just jotting down the names of the NPC the players talk to and a short explanation of why they talk to them will really help later in sessions. Don't spend as much time prepping a potential side quest NPC as you do planning an actual session. Like the generic NPCs I talked about last time, these characters will need a name, race, and some kind of shorthand for their personality, plus some notes about who they are, who they know, or things they might be involved with. For example, suppose your players have a particular city where they have some kind of base of operations, and you have a multi-session idea involving an evil archmage plotting something kind of nasty evilness that you hope will eventually lead to an epic fight for your players. You know that the archmage needs to obtain certain powerful artifacts or mystical tomes to pull off his plan, and you've already designed a few dungeons or some small dungeons which consist of forgotten tomb of the long dead. I'm going to back up. For example, suppose your players have a particular city where they have a kind of base of operations, and you have a multi-session idea involving an evil archmage plotting some kind of mass nastiness that you hope will eventually lead to an epic fight for your players. You know that the archmage needs to obtain certain powerful artifacts or mystical tomes to pull off his plan, and you've already designed at least one small dungeon which consists of a forgotten tomb of the long-dead abbot of an obscure school of monks. You already have specific NPCs designed for your players to meet. One of your players will meet a shopkeeper when she goes shopping for some small spell components, who will have some information about the Mad Abbot, perhaps. Another player is going to meet an older veteran when she goes to a weaponsmith to get a sword repaired, that sort of thing. These are characters you have already given specific tasks to help the players, and you already have them fleshed out. But perhaps when your players put the clues together about the Mad Abbot's tomb, they decide they need to do more research on the Abbot's cult. Or you already placed a mysterious book written in a language no one recognizes in the tomb. They may go looking for someone to help them with the book when they come back from the dungeon. So create a scholar or librarian who may not be an expert on the Mad Abbot, but is the sort of person the players will go to for research. You give your librarian a name, let's say Amelia, and she's a gnome, and she works at a small library associated with a school in the city. Maybe the library job isn't really a full-time position, and she supplements her income working in a tea shop that has a reading room. She knows lots of things, And more importantly, she knows where to research things she doesn't already know. You write down enough so that you can play her, talk in character as her, that sort of thing. Once she's been helpful to the players, they're going to come back to her for more information later. So there are all sorts of side quests that you could have her be the impetus for. If the players start relying on her, one of the side quests could simply be she gets kidnapped by one of the minions of the big bad and the PCs need to rescue her. Maybe you can also create someone who is a small-time crook. Maybe they work for a smuggler and have a few side jobs they do from time to time. They might be an acquaintance or a friend of your party's rogue. They have some general knowledge of some of the goings-on of criminal elements in your city. They are often hired in addition as additional muscle for certain heists or other operations. Maybe you name him Clorg, and he's an orc, and he talks gruffly, and he's a bit of a braggart. I do great things. He's not necessarily someone your players would trust in many circumstances, but you can use him to clue the players into any heists or other shady goings-on if you need to let your players try to thwart a crime. Or even better, steal something they need for later adventures and let Clorg take the blame. Of course, if they do that, that gives you an opportunity later to spring something on them because Clorg takes his revenge. There are lots of side quests and complications to other adventures that you can create with an NPC like Clorg. Then, because part of your villain's plot is related to the Mad Abbot mentioned earlier, maybe you need a character who is something of a religious expert. But not the kind of highly sought-after expert that other people would be bugging all the time, making it difficult to get some time with him. Someone who perhaps works for a shop that does engravings and printing of related things. An older half-elf who doesn't like to talk about his past, but his calligraphy is beautiful. And he speaks and writes several languages, and so he's hired as a scribe to create invitations for galas and weddings and similar events. He seems to be familiar with several religious traditions, so he's often hired to do scrolls for weddings or funerals. You decide that he's a former cleric or monk who actually knew the Mad Abbot in his youth, because he was a member of the abbot's obscure sect. But he doesn't want people to know that now. The players may never find out about that part of his past. Perhaps they'll meet him when they bring an untranslatable text to the librarian, and she suggested that they show it to her friend, the scribe Lintor. We forgot to give him a name earlier. He could be the source of information about the Mad Abbot, or about a rumored legendary sword that the PCs saw an inscription about in the Lost Tomb. And because of his skill set and his mysterious past, you can attach all kinds of side quests to him. That's what we're aiming for with any of these less generic NPCs. There needs to be potential for many, dare I say, infinitely many, possible side quests, complications, and distractions for the players if they're deviating from your fully fleshed out adventure. These more fleshed out NPCs that have only vaguely sketched out potential side quests attached help you more smoothly wing it when your players move through unexpected parts of your world. And that's where we'll leave it this time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click the thumbs up button and/or consider sharing the video. Click subscribe to be notified when new videos are uploaded. If you have any thoughts on this topic, leave them in the comments below. Until next time, keep dreaming.